Welcome to the RN to Writer Show. I'm your host, Elizabeth Haynes. I'm a nurse, but I made my living as a freelance writer, and today I help other nurses and honestly any kind of health professional start a writing business too. Hey, before I get started, don't forget to expand the description box on YouTube for links to any resources I might mention. You also can subscribe and click that notification bell so you'll know every time we post new content on YouTube, or if you prefer your information audio only. You can follow our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Lastly, don't forget to share this podcast with your nurse and clinician friends so they can get in on this great opportunity also. Welcome everybody. Today we are speaking on the RN to Writer Show with Kimberly Stephens, a member of our, a graduate of our programs. What am I thinking? Kimberly is the founder of the Practitioner's Pen LLC, and you will find a link to her website in the description box. She's a freelance nurse writer. She started her company in July of 2023. Before becoming a nurse writer, she was a family nurse practitioner and a registered nurse in primary care in Florida for 10 years. And as you're going to hear, I think you're no longer doing that, really. You're just writing, but we'll find out. So welcome, Kimberly, to the show. We're so happy to have you here to speak to our audience who you know is nurses who are at least interested in or are in the process of becoming freelance writers.
Yes, thank you. Hi, it's so great to be here.
So let's dive into this because you have a very fascinating story. Let's start with, could you tell us, paint a picture for me of what your nursing career looked like before you discovered freelance writing? What was involved with that?
Great. So I had actually started nursing school twice and in my 20s and always wanted to be a nurse. And husbands moved, nursing school had to stop, never finished. And I went through a divorce, bankruptcy, and foreclosure. It was the trifecta. And I had a job as an executive assistant trying to rebuild. And I got laid off for the first time in my life. Devastation. And my best friend, who's known me forever, was like, you're supposed to go back to nursing school. That's why it happened. So at 45 years old, I decided to go to nursing school, went to an associate's program full-time during the day. I was shooting pool at lunch to put groceries on the table. Finished my associate's program, became an RN, started working full-time. I think my first job, I was making 10 an hour while I went to school for my bachelor's, full-time also. Finished my bachelor's, and just as I was done, I thought, this is it, I'm all finished. I'm like, I think I want to be a nurse practitioner. So stayed working as an RN full-time, went to nurse practitioner school full-time with clinicals, and finished that and started working as a nurse practitioner and went straight into clinic. Always have been in primary care, always have been in the clinic space. That's where I felt that one-on-one long-term attachment. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did.
And what did that day-to-day look like? Because something led you to start exploring other options.
Oh, yeah. This will sound familiar. So days were 8 to 10 to 12 hours and 4, 5, 6 days a week. Trying to get vacation off, you had to give 3 months notice. I had a kid. I had to do things with her and her life. But the hardest part of it, everyone in medical is used to that exhaustion and those long hours and, you're going to run your feet off kind of thing. What was really getting to me was I get 10 minutes with a patient. And I went into primary care because I felt I'm seeing these people over and over. I'm going to be able to make a real difference. That's why we all go nursing, is to help people. And 10 minutes is not enough time to get a whole lot done. And I felt like I wasn't getting to do the education with the patient. I wasn't really making that difference. I wasn't helping them. They loved me, but I wasn't getting them to the better place I wanted them to be. And I started feeling like all I'm doing is writing prescriptions all day. That's all I have time for. And I got real burnt out on that real fast. And that's why I started looking for something else.
Right. I think, so I am a lowly RN. I'm not a nurse practitioner, and I can't imagine what that's like. Actually, I can't imagine it because we work with a lot of nurse practitioners who tell me how stressful it is and how frustrating it is because, like you say, we all want to help people. And so you go to all the trouble and expense and stress of getting that advanced degree only to find out, oh no, I think you are helping people as an NP and especially as a primary care, building some relationships with people. But it's frustrating. And as we age, certainly the physical exhaustion, I think, becomes an issue too. I don't see how it cannot. Then again, I'm not type A, so maybe it's just me. So when you finally sort of reached that tipping point and you decided, I'm going to start exploring other options, how did you hear about freelance writing initially? And what made you kind of land on that as, I should explore this?
So, funny story. I was end of a, I think, 12-hour day, exhausted, mentally, physically, emotionally, like completely tapped out. I think it was the middle of the night. I couldn't go to sleep because my brain wouldn't stop because I was going back to the same thing tomorrow, and I was miserable. And I was on social media just, scrolling, and this ad popped up. And there was this wonderful lady, and it was you, and it was the RN to Writer program. And it was talking about using my knowledge, but being able to reach more people. And it was this lightning bulb moment because I was saying the same things to patients every single day in my 10 minutes I had with them of trying to pass on the information to help them get better, not just take pills, but get better. And the idea that I could write and reach more than one person at a time sounded great. I've always been a writer. I've always been a reader. And what that ad said and where I was, it was kind of that perfect moment. And I don't think I slept that night, but then it was for a good reason because I had to go research the company and find out what this was about. And
yeah, we still have a lot of, is this a scam type of comments on our Facebook ads. And it's good that people are skeptical. Don't get me wrong. I mean, people should be skeptical of ads they see on social media, including ours. Fortunately, we are not a scam. We are, of course, nurse-founded, nurse-owned for other nurses, and we really do deliver, or do our best to deliver at least. So I know that after that moment, you enrolled in our entire curriculum. And for people who aren't aware, we have an entire curriculum that walks you through how to, starting with our ebook, Design Your Dream Career as a Nurse Writer, which everyone will find a link to that. That's where everyone should start. And then we have the Nurse to Writer Bridge program, which walks people through how to get their first writing samples. And then next is Get Paid Well to Write, which is the comprehensive program of here's how you go out and get clients and make money. And then lastly, we have the Freelance Freedom membership, which is ongoing advanced support because, as you know, once you have your business up and rolling, then you face new challenges that you could still use ongoing coaching to understand how to do those. So, but let's go back to the early part of that. For example, when you enrolled in the Nurse to Writer Bridge program, or maybe in Get Paid Well to Write, what would you say your top obstacle was that you faced trying to learn this new industry, and then how did you overcome that?
So I did the ebook first because that was let me see what this is about. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do the next. So I did. I think the obstacle along the way for me would be fear. Obviously, in nursing or nurse practitioner, we see people all day. We're very used to talking to people. But the reaching out to people about me as a writer, and those letters of interest and applying for that, that was very different. And it was, for me, it was like there was some fear there of, oh, that just sounds uncomfortable and it's kind of scary. But I did what the program said. And if it's when you said write the letters of interest, I wrote the letters of interest. When it apply, I applied. I would keep track, and I did it consistently every single day, just like I did what the program said. And I kept track of how many letters of interest I sent out, how many applications I sent out. But it was a consistent thing. I did it every single day. I usually took Sunday off, but every single day there had to be a certain number, just a few. I mean, it's all electronic. It's 15 minutes of your day, but do it every single day. And that consistency of just doing it wiped out that fear. I would say within a week or two of doing that, I every day got up, did it, boom, done. The fear was gone. But that was my biggest obstacle, was afraid to approach people for something that was new, and I wasn't 100% certain this was something I could make happen. Like, I knew I had the knowledge, but would they know would they believe me? Because I'm not in the clinic. So that was probably my biggest obstacle, but the consistency thing wiped it out.
So I have a couple questions for you about the consistency aspect.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, did the responses you were receiving to these LOIs, do you think that helped reduce the fear factor? Like, what were you really fearing about the outreach?
So I think it was just I think it was more of the, what is that called? You talk about it in the class. Oh, when you feel like
Imposter syndrome.
That's it. It started with an I. I had the letter right. Imposter syndrome. I felt, because I hadn't written yet. I hadn't been paid to write yet. I knew I could. Got the stuff in my head, I can tell you. But I felt it was more of that imposter thing. But letters of interest, you can send out 100 and you might get a few acknowledgments back, or thanks but no thanks. You'll get a few rejections, but most of the time you may not hear anything. And that was different, but okay. And then you get your first rejection, you're like, oh, well, someone's going to say yes. Then it kind of didn't make me mad, but it was kind of like, really? Okay, I'm going to put more out. So that
I'm going to prove it.
Exactly. That I didn't take that rejection as a personal affront. I kind of took it as what are you talking about? Of course you need me to work for you, silly. I'll find someone who really understands me. And I took it more of an anger pushing thing to get me to keep making more.
You're competitive. You tapped into your competitive spirit. And, seriously, that's a valuable thing. Mm-hmm. If a person does take a non-response or a no, which, by the way, in this industry doesn't always mean no, as you were just telling me before we went on, you're getting responses to LOIs you sent 2 years ago, you said.
Yes.
And you have to look up, where did they come from?
I literally didn't even recognize the company name. And I was like, what? So I looked, because I kept records. Yep, sure enough, September of 2023, I sent a letter of interest to that company. They're just now getting back to me in July of 2025. Okay. Yeah. But I also have, speaking to what you were saying about, they may say no, and then they may pop back up. I've had that happen also. Letters of interest were sent out, initially no or no response. And then I think the first one, it was like 5 or 6 months later, they reached out. Hey, will you reconsider? And are you still interested in blah, blah? Sure. And that was a nice little couple months of a project with them. I've had a few of those pop up along the way. So no doesn't always mean no, but no is also not the end of your world.
Exactly. My other question for you that you may not have an answer to, and that is fine. I can hear people in the audience who are in our programs and they're saying, how on earth are you sending like 5 LOIs a day? How are you getting the contact email address? Like, how are you figuring out who to contact? Can you shed any light on that?
So I turned that into, obviously in the programs, there's the lists you provide, which I took those apart. Every single thing that was listed there, I hit every single one. I contacted every single thing that's in that list, and that produced quite a few things. But then also you get creative. You're on LinkedIn and you're seeing other things popping up on your feed. I bet I can. You always have a letter of interest template, and then you tweak it for that. It's a few words. You change a few words here and there, and then throw it to that person because you're talking to their ad. And that became like a little, almost like a little detective story for me. Who's got something and how can I fit what they want? And that started making it more fun. And you're not having to send out 400 of them a day.
Right.
When you're doing it consistently 5 or 6 days a week and you're sending 5 to 10, because it depends on what's out there and the cycle and how many people are looking. Certain days of the week, nobody's posting jobs. So, and then it's a lot of asking. When you do meet people and you make acquaintances with people in LinkedIn or through the other things you've reached out through, ask. They can say no.
Exactly. Yes, it's all about the relationships. As you know, this is a constant theme in the trainings that we do. Is this is a relationship industry. It's not transactional. Don't just reach out to people like, hey, give me a job, give me a gig.
Right.
You approach them like you want to be friends. Really,
Yeah.
That's what I always did was, I love what you're doing over there. Let's be friends.
Yeah. And those people I'm still in contact with people I met way back at the very beginning. And we check in every once in a while. A couple of them, hey, I've got one of my writers blipped out on this thing and I've got a 2-day turnaround. You busy? No, I'm not. Thank you.
Exactly.
Always the right answer.
That is awesome. Thank you. So back to your story and your journey. I went off on a tangent there. So tell me, not only, again, paint a picture for the members of our audience who do not understand this industry and don't understand what's possible for nurses in this industry. Tell us, what does your freelance career look like today? What does your nursing career look like today? And how has your life changed? Because I know yours has changed significantly.
I love this story. So, So I did found you in June 2023. July 1st, 2023, I formed the Practitioner's Pen. So we just hit our 2-year anniversary this month. I did exactly what the program said, like I mentioned. I had decided when I finished the ebook and I started the courses that I was going to commit to this. And whatever you said to do, that's what I was going to do, period. And so I had my samples done. I had my LinkedIn up. I was applying to places, and I was still working my way through the courses because, like you mentioned, I did do all of them. And I had my first became my first anchor client contract signed on August 31st.
Wow.
And my first pay from writing rolled in September of 2023. And my intention was that this was going to be a kind of a side thing and would let me cut my hours back at the clinic. That was my literal only goal. I'm going to keep working in the clinic, but I cannot do 6 days a week. So if I could balance. So that was the goal. And I was, by December of 2023, so almost 6 months, January would be 6 months, I was making 2/3 of equivalent of what I was making in the clinic in a month. I was making with my writing, writing 2 or 3 hours in the mornings before I went to the clinic. So January 2024, I cut my hours back part-time at the clinic. And so I was 6 months in to having found RN to writer, and my writing income was stable enough. It was replacing 2/3 of my normal clinic. So I still had a little clinic going, but I had this writing thing, and now I had more time to do it. I didn't have to just jam it in the morning before I went to the clinic. Then I still was staying with, I'm going to do part-time clinic, part-time writing, and I'm going to keep this balance. And I did that for 6 more months. And at the 1-year anniversary of the practitioner's pen, which would be July 2024, I realized that even going part-time, I was still being crushed 3 days a week, 12 hours a day. You weren't really not working when you weren't at work. I was still exhausted, and boy, was I looking forward to those days when all I'd had to do was write. So I decided I was going to go big. I made that mental decision that this was working and I can make this bigger. And by that point, I had 2 anchor clients and several other, 1 or 2 project type things along the way. And but I was still keeping it, between $4,000 and $6,000 a month was about what I was making up till then. And so I contacted my anchor clients and said, I've decided I'm going to leave my clinic and I want to be able to write full time. Do you think you can accommodate that? And they responded by saying yes. And we doubled my income by the next month. And so October 2024, I left my clinic. It was, so yeah, I decided in July 2024 to make it go big. And by October, I was out of the clinic. And I was completely replacing my clinic income and then some. So I left. And so I was like a year and a few months, I guess. And then as of this month, or this year, 2025, my average revenue per month is 11 or 12. I have 3 anchor clients now. Last month was our biggest. We had an $18,000 revenue month after taxes and expenses.
Isn't that fun?
That's 3 times what I made at the clinic. 3 times what I made at the clinic. And I work, literally, if I work 3 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, that's it. That's my writing. That's all I need to do. So I get up at 5 in the morning, I write for 3 hours, and I'm done. So as far as how it's changed our life, I'm 58 now. And for my birthday, I gave myself yoga because I have time now. And I'm retiring my husband early. This coming September, he's going to be retiring early at the ripe old age of 58. We bought 6 acres on a spring-fed river in Florida, in Central Florida, we're moving to. And I will get up in the morning and I will write for 2 or 3 hours. And when I'm done writing is about when he wakes up, and I have the whole day to pursue all those things that people always want to do that you never have time when you're working in the clinics full time. So I've taken up painting and fiber arts and pottery, and I do my yoga. We swim in the river. Also with this year, since this is what I do now, I take 1 to 2 weeks off every month. So I'm really only working 2 or 3 weeks a month and working 2 to 3 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. And I'm making so much more money, and I have so much more time. So much time.
And the stress level is like,
I have none. Like I really, we talk about this all the time, how when we were so busy, when I was always at the clinic, and then you'd come home and you have to come up with dinner and go to the kids' events and do all the things, and it's just, you're burnt. You're passing out to go to sleep. You're not actually going to sleep. And now I just decide today I don't think I'm going to write in the morning, I'll write tomorrow, or I'll write in the evening, or I'm not going to write. And I'm going to go on a trip. Hey, let's go to pick a place. And we just do. If it's beautiful weather, I'm going to go garden. If there's a special class at yoga, okay, I feel like I want to go do that. And I having control of my life and my time and being able to 100% decide what I do, when I do it, whether I do it, but still able to make the bills and take care of all the things that we have to take care of. And comfortably now, I'm not having to shoot pooling lunch breaks to cover groceries. I keep telling people I have a life now. Whereas before I was living, but I didn't feel like I really had a life. I was just on a treadmill. Now I'm having the life I want to have. I sculpt my day to have it be how I want it to be, depending on my mood or the weather or whatever. It's a 360 from where I was in June of 2023, sitting on that couch, miserable.
I think
complete
that
180.
First of all, I just am so happy for you. Like, I'm so happy that this went like clockwork according to plan, like exactly what we teach and what can be accomplished. And at that point, this is where I'm supposed to say results not typical. But actually, we have many students who have the same arc that you have traveled in your career, because it is possible to do this. I was going to say, I think in terms of transformation, what I love seeing as the coach and the mentor is people who, as you said, they're living, but they're so fried all the time. That's their normal, is I am tired, physically and mentally exhausted. So I'm existing, I am moving through life, but they've actually forgotten what it's like to have energy and be able to be fully present at things like the grandkids' birthday party, or going to watch them play soccer, or their kids, and after they have made this shift like you have, and their energy returns to normal levels that it should be mentally and emotionally and sometimes spiritually, they're like, wow, this was foreign to me, and now I have all that back, you know?
Yeah, yes, 1,000,000% is exactly. It has been a full, not just my time or my income or what I do for work, but mentally, anxiety and all that stuff that you dealt with, I'd had before with work, and always feeling stressed and never feeling like you're getting everything done, and that's gone. Depression, no. I look forward to every day, whereas when I was working, I dreaded the next day. I just was, please get me to clock out time and let it be on time for a change. That was my daily prayer.
This encapsulates it, a nurse's life, no matter what level of nurse licensure you have, that encapsulates it. Like, I just dread it, you know?
Yeah. And it's sad because we all start with that same want to help people. That's no matter whether you're on the trauma team or you're in the ER or you're in a school clinic, we're there because we want to help people. And we just get run through the ringer between just, no one should have as many patients as most nurses are supposed to take care of at any given time, and hours should end when they're supposed to end. And it's a very it's an awesome career, and I wouldn't change it, even though it was hard, because everything I think we experience paves the way for our future experiences. So I had to go through that, I guess, to get where I'm at. But being able now to still have that knowledge, but I know I'm still helping people. I still have old patients hunting me down to say, "How are you doing? I miss you." I'm like, "Oh, how are you doing? Where's your blood pressure at?"
We're always nurses.
Did you ever fix that? It's just it's so it's so fulfilling to have the life, the ability to have a life and design it yourself. You know, from the time we're in school as kids, because my daughter just graduated college, so we just had this conversation. You know, from the time we're in school as children, we're on you're on a schedule. Do these courses, finish this class, go to this grade, do this, and it's a step by step by step, and you're constantly on that little hamster wheel. And then we finish school and we go get jobs, and we're on a little hamster wheel. Whether we go to school or we don't, or go into the trades, it doesn't matter. It's all kind of the same. We're on someone else's schedule. We're on someone else's time. And if that's the situation and it works, that's great. But most of the time, you're not free to do things the way you want to do them. And they're owning you for the majority of your waking hours. So finding a way to use what you have and then be able to create your own life, which is quite literally what I've done with being able to do this, it's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always said my entire freelance career was built on the fact that I am fundamentally lazy and I'm just not willing to work. I'm not willing to do 12-hour shifts. I needed to make at least that much money for way less hours. And so that's how all that was born.
Yeah, I still have the little piece of paper I wrote somewhere during one of your lectures, and you were talking about that. And I was like, that's a good point. How much do I need to make in dollars to replace half my work week at the clinic? That's a real simple, direct way to think about it. And I still have that piece of that Post-it that I wrote that on.
Sweet.
It's in my planner, and it's one of my little, yep, that was your goal. That's where you started.
I love that. I love that you have all your planners too. I do too, by the way, because like you, I like to occasionally go back and like be like, wow, I had an $18,000 month that month. Like,
yeah.
Think about that. It's still incredible to me.
And I like it also because I write about so many topics, and with writers, you literally pick something in medicine. You probably got something to say about it. So I like to keep track every month of the different things I write about. It's like a little diary of what knowledge have you shared? And then of course I started keeping track of what those equal to as far as money. And I keep running totals of my daily income, my weekly income, my monthly income, and those numbers, pretty little boxes, lots of colored pens. And it's just like the consistency I had at the beginning of starting this, the consistency of my pay, same thing. I can look month after month after month, and it's all within this like $1,000 range every single month. And the hours are still the same.
You can't beat it. Like, this is a poor segue to my final real question for you, because we know what the answer is going to be. But in terms of freelance health writing for nurses, and I don't think the fact that you're a nurse practitioner particularly gave you some kind of advantage. I could be wrong, but I think really, like I said, I'm an RN. I think any nurse can do this. Mm-hmm. What would you say to another nurse who is feeling that burnout, that dread of the next day, and they have seen one of our ads or they have heard about health writing, and they're skeptical, or they're at least wondering if this is a real thing, and can I do it? What would you say to them?
Absolutely. And you're right. As a nurse, we have to know about everything. We know a little bit about everything. And then whatever specialty we may have ended up in, we know a lot more maybe about that one. But most of what we're looking for out there in medical writing is, do you understand the big words? So if you can do that, and you can because you've talked to patients, you've had to explain it. So it's not as foreign as it may sound. Like, oh, medical writing, but I'm a medical professional and I provide care. But you also have that information, and words are required for humans to communicate. So it's it's really an easy transition once you start doing it. It just falls in. And really, the only thing is you have to want to do it. If you're really burnt and you're really tired, there 100% is a way to not have to feel like that every day. And you can do it half and half, like I did, dragged it out for whatever I did, 6 months till part-time. And then I was like, oh, this will be my balance. And then 6 months later, that wasn't my balance no more. We were done. But you just got to want to do it. It's not learning something completely new. You already have the knowledge. You already know how to do this. You just don't realize you do, because you've written enough notes, guaranteed, even if whether you did them back in the old days on paper or you do them on the computers, you've written notes. You've had to put in information. You've had to sit there and explain to a patient and their family what their diagnosis is. That's pretty much where, if you can do that, you can do medical writing. And it's a lot easier, with a lot less stress. The whole key to it, though, is that consistency. Is you want to do it, say you're going to do it, and then just be all in and do the little pieces that are needed each day, 15, 30 minutes, whatever. Do it every day. Be consistent. Keep doing it. And it doesn't not happen. If you do the things you're supposed to do and stay with the consistency, someone's going to say yes, you're going to end up with a writing client. And from there, it just keeps going.
This is what I say too, persistence. It's not about speed. It's not about any particular, you don't have to have an MBA or what. You just have to keep plodding along and moving forward. And eventually we all end up with a paying client. If you persist, you will end up with a paying client. That's how I see it.
As long as you do whatever they ask, because every client is different. Every client is different. And they don't all realize that. Sometimes you have to actually mention to them, how would you like your references to look? Because you're not picking AMA, or, you don't know what you're doing. So sometimes you just suggest for things. But the I don't know where I was going with that one.
That's okay. I was going to say I'll use this as a teaser opportunity, because the minute we're done with this, I'm going to shoot an entire podcast on how easy the writing is. Because look, I found an old template from a client. This is literally what clients provide you with if you're watching out there. And I'm going to go through these sections. I call it painting by numbers, but we use words. They give you this outline and tell you exactly. This one even includes references, what sources they want you to use. I'm
yeah. And that has been the thing. All of my anchor clients, they knew what they were doing. They have same thing. Here's what we want. Boom. It's a file they send you. Follow the directions. Do it the way they want. And as long as you do it the way they want, they're going to keep giving you work.
Absolutely.
And then they're probably going to expand your scope of work. And then they're probably going to offer you other projects. And then they'll tell other people about you. And, oh, look, now you have 4 or 5 clients. And that wasn't that hard.
Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for coming and sharing your journey with our audience, because this is going to be hugely valuable for them to hear from someone who has not only succeeded at this, but has transitioned out of clinic into doing this. And like you said, been able to create a fantastic stress-free life for themselves. So thank you for that. Once again, you will find Kimberly's website in the description box. If you have listened to this episode and you are now feeling inspired and are thinking to yourselves, how can I learn more about this? Go to the description box, click the link, get our ebook. It's $5.90. It's called Design Your Dream Career as a Nurse Writer. I think it's aptly named. And That will get you started. And then when you want to continue, yes, we have other programs, but the ebook alone will get you started in this. So Kimberly, thank you once again. And for everybody else, I'll see you on the next episode. So that's it for this episode of the RN to Writer Show. I'm your host, Elizabeth Haynes. I'm a nurse, but I made my living as a freelance writer. Hey, tell us what you thought of this episode by posting in the comments on YouTube. You also can email us if you'd like, and you can send us suggestions for shows you'd like to see. Once again, don't forget to expand the description box on YouTube to locate links to any resources I may have mentioned in this episode. And you can also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep pitching.